Before we begin, we would like to take a moment to acknowledge the work done by BetterHelp and their broader community and many other initiatives through their partnership with over 100 non-profit disaster relief efforts, with millions of dollars in financial aid and free therapy for people who otherwise couldn't access it. BetterHelp is helping make mental health support more accessible. If you would like to learn more about their community impact and programs, check out the links shared in the description of this video and even the ones that we are sharing at the moment. Thank you very much for your help to the community. There is a gap between what your brain wants and what it actually likes, and that gap ruins satisfaction, commands and controls your life if you are not aware of how to control it. In this video, we want to break down the history of this as given by great Afro-Hamitic sages Kagamnu and now confirmed by neuroscience on wanting versus liking, and how you can actually escape the deadly hedonic trap, and how dopamine tricks you into desiring things you won't enjoy once you get them. Kent Eberidge spent over 30 years proving that wanting and liking run on different hardware. Liking, the actual pleasure of one thing, is handled by a few millimeters of hedonic hotspots in the nucleus accumbens and ventral pallidum. It saturates fast and is finished quickly. Wanting is the mesolimbic dopamine pathway, vast, ancient, built without an on or off switch. It keeps you moving forward towards food, towards mates, relationships, safety, and many other isms. So it never learns to register enough. It keeps signaling for longer after the need is met. It cannot be shut off, can only be overridden temporarily. So we are caught in a net here. But our ancestors, the African sage Kagamni, whose tomb is now known and how he looks like is displayed here, before Kent Eberidge spent 30 years proving that wanting and liking run on different hardware, they knew, although they didn't have the vocabulary that is used today in neuroscience and medicine and psychology, they knew from tradition, they knew from having watched humans with clinical patients for millennia. Kagamni spoke about the belly that covets after a meal time has passed as the same observation that appetite outlives need. The Hamitic sages named the resulting state the governed condition, as well as what dictates your freedom, and whether your alignment to Maati or Isfet, good or evil, happiness or sadness, is governed by an internal system with no stake in your flourishing and no concept of satisfaction, which relocates the whole problem. The chain was never fastened from outside. The world is riddled by an insatiable drive with greed, evil, and many other impulses. The ancient ranked about 6 virtues, and they put self-control at the forefront. That ordering wasn't test, it was engineering. Every other virtue is downstream of self-control. You cannot be kind of anything else. You cannot be kind if appetite overrides consideration. You cannot be just if greed narrows perception. You cannot be truthful if wanting has commandeered cognition. In other words, how you think. Self-control isn't one virtue among 6. It is the condition without which the other 5 cannot be installed within your character. This is not moralizing. It's a maintenance manual that we are describing here for you. The body is the forge, the workshop the tool. Everything that follows within the body is fuel specification, operating conditions, and maintenance schedule. Are you running your instrument? Are you running the body, or the body is running you? When you look at nutrition as a fuel specific need, we know that we get proteins for repair, complex carbohydrates for sustained neurological function, fats for the myelin governing signal transmission. Yet chronic deficiency narrows prefrontal capacity and hence decision making to the amygdala, which does not calibrate, cannot control, it just reacts. You cannot veto an impulse with a brain you have not fed. Perhaps this is why you wrongly feed yourself and then find yourself in a situation where you cannot make a decision on why what you want is not what you think, or what you like is not what satisfies you, and why all the chasing and all the rat race does not actually make anybody happy. Because why you don't want what you think you want is because your brain decides before you do. The ancestor Kagemini says, vile is he whose belly is voracious. Time passes and he forgets in whose house the belly strides. So don't be controlled by these organs. A great example of what will control you in why you don't want what you think you want, the trap of liking, is alcohol and hard drugs. The precision strike of these suppresses the prefrontal cortex. First, the exact component that distinguishes a chosen decision from a program executing itself must be registered in the brain. But now, what happens is that alcohol and other drugs will distinguishly and will clearly demarcate your capacity and ability, and hands over the gap, and hands over your willpower, and hands over your instinct, your intent, your frequency to a substance manufactured by human beings or found in nature. Therefore, you will find yourself liking and wanting things that you do not want and that you should not like. Psychedelics, the sophisticated version of the same problem. They genuinely disrupt the default mode network, that voice that speaks in you and brings thoughts to your attention. The error is in mistaking the vehicle for the destination. Temporary chemical suppression of a program feels like liberation from inside the suppression. When your decision making has no basis, no trained capacity to occupy it, what floods your mind and what floods you is an integrated shadow material at a hallucinogenic volume. The terrifying ceremony and the blissful one are the same thing at different volumes. Neither is the goal state achieved here. Your goal has been removed unless it is to be drunk and to be insane. But if you want sobriety, it doesn't mean that there is the absence of experience. But sobriety is the condition where you can stand in that gap before you execute any program. Without any assistance yourself, you stand in that gap and listen to the default mode saying something to you as a network in your body, and you refuse if a decision is not beneficial to you. That's sobriety. That's how you can control why you don't want what you think you want, the trap of liking. Our book, which is coming soon, is going to deal with this in detail. We look at mental health, which is the forge's interior, and an integrated trauma, chronic depression, sustained anxiety. These crowd out evaluative capacity by sheer amplitude. They don't dissolve through discipline alone. They require integration, honest examination, and often skilled help, either from a priest, from professionals, from family, from those that are sympathetic to you. And therefore, after that, you clean the interior, not for the peace of mind, but for the capacity to be able to make decisions. That's all. That is essential and necessary.
Trap.
But
the governor on
moderation
timid middle path,
is
but
what
the
you need.
optimal envelope. Excess
Is the
overwhelm,
governor
deprivation is the operation.
of it all. Not the timid middle path of someone who cannot commit to something or to do something. Not passivity, not procrastination. Two failures modes bracket the optimal envelope. Excess, which overwhelms processing and hands over the gap to another force. Deprivation, which starves the instrument of what it needs to do some work.
The person who eats well,
The person
moves, and refuses
who eats well,
them isn't being ascetic,
rests,
they're being operational.
moves,
The person who
and
eats
refuses
well,
what
rests,
displaces these
refuses what displaces
isn't
them,
being
isn't being
ascetic.
ascetic, they're being operational.
He is or she
The person who
is
eats well,
being operational,
rests, moves, and
smart,
refuses what displaces
and
them,
moderate.
isn't being ascetic, they're being operational.
You have to become an ungovernable entity. Nothing should govern you. This is the reason why a governed person is the one who cannot say no to what they want, which may not be what they need, wish, or like. A king who cannot interrupt his hunger is more enslaved than a peasant who is in the jail. Chains on the nervous system survive every political revolution because no revolution can reach them. Survive every education, every spirit, every god, every date, because nothing can reach them. Anyone who mistakes an outward display of power for an inner condition of freedom is reading the wrong instrument. Everything is right in your control. That gap that we are speaking of. The ungovernable person can hear the hunger and choose, can sit with the company that is smoking marijuana and not smoke even indirectly, can look at the food that millions love and he or she will not eat it because they are in the gap. They are making a decision and they remain exactly who they were before this was offered. The pause is trained so thoroughly that by the time they act, that action that they do is theirs. So how can you now be in a position to deal with the paradox of not wanting what you think you want? Because not wanting what you think you want and knowing that is one of the most reliable diagnostic signal of an internal system either free of stress or under stress. How can you know? Now, before we wrap up and give you how you can know, let us remember Better Help, who work to make mental health and support and equitable accessibility to help easier, expanding access to those of these resources that create a ripple effect of healing for individuals, entire communities. To learn more about their programs and impact in society, we ask you to visit them on their website and study them and get in touch with them. Since there is a massive issue on why you don't want what you think you want, the remedy is just alignment. Keep a tab on this page, keep this space so that when we release this book, not for the government, the Chain Breakers Precision Manual, you will be able to access it and have solutions to many problems which will help you navigate this life and manage the gap, the space of decision making situation that is always there but has been overridden by systems that are found on earth, so that you can learn how to audit the source of your desire, the diagnostics, the corrections, also to learn how you can make your intent and frequency align with the goals that are yours, and how to deconstruct the facade of fallacies that dominate the whole plethora of social media, news, and education, and many other control systems that are on earth. This book is going to be a nuclear bomb. This book is not going to be simple, straightforward, easy, camaraderie. It is a book that I feel might be banned. So thank you very much. I'm your manager Topi, preacher Rabbi LM Kunigani Mjakanja, saying the issue of why you don't want what you think you want is very fundamentally attached to misalignment that requires treating your internal architecture like a system that needs recalibration. Thank you. Have a great day.